Now, we will have a discussion on the other enzymes apart from restriction enzymes which are used in recombinant DNA technology. The first of them is DNA ligase. DNA ligase is also called as polynucleotide ligase. This enzyme is also called as molecular glue because it catalyzes the joining of DNA strands together. So two different DNA molecules can be, or two DNA strands can be ligated together with the help of this enzyme, and it catalyzes the formation of a phosphodiester bond. That is why this enzyme is also called as the molecular glue. It is found in all the living cells, and this DNA ligase, its cellular function. What is cellular function is the repair of single strand breaks in the duplex DNA in living organisms. So in the double-stranded DNA, if there is any single-stranded break, it is usually ligated by this. It is usually repaired by this DNA ligase. So for recombinant DNA technology, we have to get purified DNA ligase. And that is used for joining the foreign DNA molecules and the vector DNA molecules to create the recombinant DNA. So the discontinuities in the sugar phosphate backbone will be sealed by DNA ligase. And as we saw in earlier videos of genetic engineering, first of all we have to cut the foreign DNA with a particular restriction enzyme. The vector is also to be cut with the same restriction enzyme so that in both of them the same types of complementary ends are produced, and these two are mixed together, and they will easily base pair with each other because you can see that the ends created in the cut vector as well as the ends created in the foreign DNA are complementary to each other, so they will easily base pair. Even though they base pair, there will be breaks in the sugar phosphate backbone because they have only undergone pairing. The the phosphodiester bond has yet not been created, and it is DNA ligase who subserves this function. So once we mix these two cut molecules together and then add DNA ligase, the ligase will seal these nicks, these breaks. You can see even though they base pair, there will be nicks, and these nicks will be sealed by DNA ligase. So that is the exact function of DNA ligase. So it creates phosphodiester bonds, and the bond is created between the 3' hydroxyl end of one nucleotide and the 5' phosphate end of the other nucleotide. And these enzymes require cofactors for their function. Either ATP or NAD is used for the ligase reaction. Now for recombinant DNA technology, we are using two types of ligases, the E. coli DNA ligases as well as the T4 ligases. E. coli DNA ligase is obtained from E. coli as well as many other prokaryotes contain this. You can isolate this enzyme from many other prokaryotes, but usually it is isolated from E. coli. And here in E. coli DNA ligase, the cofactor is NAD. But there is one drawback that it cannot ligate blunt-ended DNA. It can only ligate sticky-ended DNA molecules. Whereas T4 DNA ligase is a more commonly used tool in recombinant DNA technology. It is obtained from bacteriophage T4, and this is most commonly used because it can also ligate blunt-ended DNA with much greater efficiency than the E. coli DNA ligase. Now we come to the next crucial enzyme, which is called as a DNA polymerase. It is usually a DNA modifier enzyme. The most important tools are restriction enzymes and ligases. DNA polymerases can be considered as DNA modifiers. So what is their exact cellular function? They synthesize DNA molecules, or they synthesize DNA strands. And you know, the DNA strands are polymers of monomers called as deoxyribonucleotides. So deoxyribonucleotides are added on to form DNA strands, and DNA polymerases catalyze this function. So they catalyze the synthesis of a new DNA strand. But here there are some requirements. We will go to them and come back to the slide again. First of all, the DNA polymerase activity always proceeds in 5'3' direction. You can see here. Here This is the new strand which is synthesized, and the strand synthesis takes place only in the 5'3' direction. Here in the opposite strand also, you can see the strand, we expect the strand synthesis to take place in this direction, but it is not occurring as we expected. It is occurring as fragments again in the 5'3' direction, and these fragments, you must have studied that these fragments are called as Okazaki fragments, but they are not worth mentioning now. When we study recombinant DNA technology, we will go back to the function of DNA polymerase. So, as I already told you, DNA polymerase, it can catalyze the synthesis of a new strand in the 5'3' direction. And we will go to the requirements for this activity. The first requirement is, it requires an unwound single-stranded template. Here, the one which is shown in this blue color is the template strand, and complementary to it, it is synthesizing a new strand. So it can synthesize a new DNA strand only in complementarity with an existing single-stranded template strand. Now the second requirement. Second requirement is, it can never initiate strand synthesis. It can only add on deoxyribonucleotides to an existing molecule, an existing DNA molecule. And here, a small molecule which is called as primer. It is a polynucleotide. It's an oligonucleotide molecule with a very few nucleotide monomers joined together. And it is on to this primer, it is on to the 5' end of the primer that the DNA polymerase will only add deoxyribonucleotides. Otherwise, it cannot initiate strand synthesis. It can only add nucleotides to the end of an existing chain. It cannot establish the first link of the chain. So we will again go to the diagram. Here you can see primers. This region, it is called as a primer. It is on to the primer that deoxyribonucleotides are added one by one, and the strand synthesis proceeds in the 5'3' direction. So the first requirement is this template, complementary to which a new strand will be produced. Second requirement is the primer on to which the nucleotides are added together to form the new strand. And what is the third requirement? Third requirement is, of course, the monomers for synthesis of DNA strand. The monomers are deoxyribonucleotide triphosphates, that is DATP, DTTP, DGTP and DCTP. Along with that, it requires certain cofactors like magnesium ions, and it requires a buffer solution with correct pH for its optimum activity. Now, coming to the history, 1956, Arthur Kornberg discovered DNA polymerase in E. coli. It is also called as Kornberg's enzyme, and for which he was awarded Nobel Prize for Physiology and Medicine. In 1970, Thomas Kornberg and Jefter discovered DNA polymerase II in E. coli. In prokaryotic organisms, there are 5 types of DNA polymerases, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. In eukaryotic cells, there are 10 types of DNA polymerases named as beta, lambda, sigma, mu, alpha, delta, epsilon, eta, iota and kappa. And this DNA polymerase from E. coli, Pol1, it is having 3 main activities. The first activity is called as the 5'3' polymerase activity that does chain elongation. That is the most important activity of a polymerase. Second one is 5'3' exonuclease activity. That means after the strand synthesis is over, the primer is to be removed. Usually the primer will be an RNA molecule. So after strand synthesis, the primer molecules are to be removed, and there the deoxyribonucleotides are to be added. That function is called as 5'3' exonuclease activity, removal of primers. And this enzyme also has a third activity which is called 3'5' exonuclease activity. That means proofreading. Suppose a wrong nucleotide is incorporated during strand synthesis, that will be removed by the same enzyme itself. That is called as 3'5' exonuclease activity, where you can see the incorporation of a wrong nucleotide, and this enzyme it will reverse its direction to remove the mismatched nucleotide which has been incorporated. That is what is called as 3'5' exonuclease activity or proofreading activity. So these are all certain facts about the cellular function of DNA polymerases. And now how significant are they in recombinant DNA technology? So for that we have to study a molecule which is called as the Klenau fragment. What is Klenau fragment? DNA polymerase 1 is an enzyme. It's a protein, so it can be digested with the help of the enzyme protease. And when it is digested by protease, it is cleaved into two fragments, a large fragment and a small fragment. This large fragment, it is called as the Klenau fragment. What is its peculiarity? Already I told you the enzyme is having three functions. That is, there are three functions carried out by the enzyme. That is 5'3' polymerase activity, 5'3' exonuclease activity, and 3'5' exonuclease activity. Now, when it is cleaved with the help of protease, it will yield a 75 kilodalton fragment called Klenau fragment, which retains only the polymerase activity and the proofreading activity. In the small fragment retains the 5'3' exonuclease activity, that is the removal of primers. So, here we have fragmented the DNA polymerase enzyme into two, and for further experiments in recombinant DNA technology we use the Klenau fragment because we require the 5'3' polymerase activity, and there is no burden of the size of the enzyme. So we are getting a smaller fragment which can be used as enzyme which still retains its 5'3' polymerase enzymatic activity, and it's also having the proofreading activity. So usually for recombinant DNA technology we do not use DNA polymerase as such, but we use it in the form of Klenau fragment. And what are the uses? It is used for labeling. Suppose you have a sticky ended DNA molecule and which is created by restriction enzyme cutting, and you want a DNA molecule to be labeled. So you can add complementary, already you have a molecule which is having a sticky end, a DNA molecule. So you can make it blunt ended by adding nucleotides complementary to the sticky end. If these nucleotides are labeled, if these nucleotides are radio labeled, after their incorporation the whole DNA molecule becomes radio labeled. So that is how you are labeling DNA molecules, by filling the sticky ends generated by restriction enzymes. You just incorporate radio labeled deoxyribonucleotides complementary to the sticky end, and the whole DNA molecule becomes radioactive. It is used for generating blunt ends. Here you can see this is a enzyme which is having sticky tails or sticky ends. So by using this Klenau fragment, what you can do is, Klenau fragment is having 5'3' polymerase activity. So here you can add nucleotides and make this end blunt. And here the enzyme is having 3'5' exonuclease activity. So by the 3'5' exonuclease activity, this tail can be removed. That is how, with the help of DNA polymerase or Klenau fragment, you can make a DNA molecule with ends with overhangs, single stranded overhangs into a blunt DNA molecule. Here the raw material was a DNA molecule with single stranded overhangs, but after treating with Klenau fragment you are having a DNA molecule with blunt ends on each side. This is in terms of or this is attributed to the properties of the enzyme. One is its polymerase activity which is exercised here, and the other is its 3'5' exonuclease activity which is exercised here. Now one more enzyme. This is actually a type of DNA polymerase which is also called as RNA dependent DNA polymerase. It is also called reverse transcriptase. So it is used for the synthesis of DNA from an mRNA template through reverse transcription. What is reverse transcription? The synthesis of a DNA molecule, a new DNA molecule in complementarity to an RNA molecule. That is what is called as reverse transcription, because it is a reverse of transcription process. So the DNA thus synthesized is called as a complementary DNA, and this phenomenon was discovered by Temin and Baltimore in respiratory syncytial virus. In its inactive virions, this enzyme was discovered in 1970, and they were awarded Nobel Prize for their discovery. And what is the use of reverse transcriptases? With the help of reverse transcriptases, you can synthesize DNA molecules complementary to RNA. So from cells, mRNAs can be collected, and complementary to them, you can synthesize DNA molecules. So the advantage is that a gene will be having both intronic and exonic regions, and most of the regions are intronic, that is non-coding. There is the size of a gene matters in recombinant DNA technology. When you take it to a host cell or when you link it to a vector, you have no idea what is we are not assured whether the vector will be able to carry big size of that foreign DNA. So you always will like less luggage. That is, you always will like a gene which is having only exonic regions or coding regions. So here reverse transcriptase can be of help in this context, because if you collect cellular mRNAs, they are actually transcription products of a particular gene. So from this mRNA, if you are able to synthesize a complementary DNA, then you are getting a gene, you are getting a counterpart of a gene which is having only coding regions. So that is how you use reverse transcriptase. So they are used for synthesizing complementary DNA from mRNAs, and they are also used for quantifying the level of mRNA in a technique which is called as RT-PCR, where we make use of reverse transcriptase. So these are the different types of DNA polymerases.